All right, welcome back to another episode of the Underground Kings podcast. Today I'm joined by Sam with Clean Exhibition. Sam, how you doing?
Thank you. I'm very, very, very thankful for being here. Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me on your show. It's good to know that someplace local is doing this. Yeah,
I appreciate it, man.
It's great to be here, man, and I appreciate the opportunity to coming down.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you. So we were just conversating. Like I said, we just flow this like a typical conversation.
I like that.
So yeah, I started the podcast like a year ago, the Underground Kings podcast, and then the latest venture, the Underground Kings Club, which is a men's only private organization.
Membership
kind of thing.
Yep.
It actually launches tomorrow.
Okay, so congratulations on that. That is awesome. That is awesome.
Officially we'll be breaking. Ethan's the only one that really knows everything as far as like behind the scenes and things like that. he's been good, man.
Yeah, he's amazing, man. I love him to death, and I'm so thankful that he's part of our organization as well, because I needed somebody here local that can help me with what we do for our events and our marketing, and having him here. And he lives like 5 minutes down the road from me, so sometimes he's like, "Hey, man, you want to do something?" And I'm like, "Yeah." It works out great. So
no, Ethan and his company Phelps Films, have been integral to the launch of this club.
That's awesome.
We started working together 4 or 5 months ago, something like that. Really just scaling out all of the video content, the photo content, building the personal brand. We've been working on the assets that are going to roll out tomorrow for the launch. It's just been this really cool process, but and we going back to like him not talking about it, like that's the kind of guys we're looking for.
Yeah, and it's funny because like I said, I see him at least 2 or 3 times a week. I know him for the last year. What is funny, me and him, we go way back since maybe last year, the year before. And I've always wanted to work with him, but I needed to be at that point where I knew I needed him as much as I need him now. And now we see him almost every day, and he's never said a word. So that's loyalty. That's awesome. That's a good character in a person. So
respect, loyalty, honor. Yeah, those are our tenets.
Beautiful.
But yeah, you kind of commented on the whole Underground Kings thing. Does that have some kind of alternate meaning to you, or?
So we have a thing called No Friends, and we started that a couple months ago as well. And very similar. We kept it quiet. We didn't say nothing. He knew about it because he's with us 90% of the time. And No Friends was based on just stuff that happens in the industry that nobody really talks about or is scared to talk about. And we decided to put it out there, but we put it in subliminal messages within our shirts or our branding and things like that. And he knew about it, and he was like, "Oh, this is just such a great idea." That's when he hit me up. Was like, "Man, I got somebody who's got a podcast out at the beach that you got to get together with." So here we are now. So it's great. It's great.
From what I've heard through Ethan, and also just in meeting you just now and what you just said, you and I seem to have very similar ways that we go about thinking about things from a creative and a strategic standpoint.
Absolutely.
I know for me, like I'm all about that subliminal, that minimalist kind of approach to launching things. My thoughts are build something worth building, and like people will come and seek you.
Absolutely. Out. If you build it, they will come.
A bingo.
That's literally it. And for me, the No Friends was personal to me, but personal to a lot of people that I work with as well. There's a lot of very good, humble people in the industry that are sometimes afraid to say anything just because people are going to look at them differently. If you're known to be a kind, humble person and you blow up and you lose your character, people are going to ridicule you for that. So they rather bite their tongue. And one of my first shirts that we dropped for No Friends was of a local shop who did some work for a guy, and they put in all their money. And the owners are good friends of mine. He put in his money, his parts, everything, because the guy didn't have the funds to do it. Fixes this guy's car. Guy comes and picks the car, drives off with it. Week later, he's at another shop talking crap about my guy who fixed his car for free. That's not your friend anymore. That's your enemy. Like, you just put out your bread and butter. You put out the money that you could feed your family or your whatever you want to do with, and you just gave it to this guy to help him out, and now he's killing you basically. And then after that, it was just downhill. I started seeing things on social media. I'm like, oh, that's a shirt, and put it on there. Hey, this is a quote. Let me go ahead and use that. And we try to put something out every other week on social media about the No Friends. Now we're in the middle of our next show, which is next week in Fredericksburg, Virginia. So I kind of slowed down on that because I've been focusing on the show itself. But I keep track, man. I have a little notebook, and I'm just there. It's like, oh, I'm going to write this down right here, and I'll use that one for later. And so
it's like the big dog, small dog. The small dog walks up to the big dog and will bark in his face and bark at his face, bark in his face. The big dog kind of just stands there, stoic. And then the little dog nips him once, and the little dog is never seen again.
Never seen again.
But, you know, that's funny. We see that day in, day out. I feel like, especially in business, really. You know, it's cutthroat.
I say that constantly. I just posted a couple weeks ago. This industry, doesn't matter what you're in, it is a cutthroat business, period. You are in competition with, if you are a small business that does anything related to shipping and branding and things like that, you're competing with Amazon. So even for me, people sometimes hit me up as like, oh, why can't I get free shipping like Amazon? I'm like, I'm not Amazon money who can ship a pallet for $100. Yeah. You know, I got to ship a pallet. It's going to cost me $600. You know, so I have to raise my prices to be competitive. And either you can support the small business or you're going to support the big business. And that's unfortunately the failure of a lot of small businesses is that people will prefer going to shop Amazon. I mean, we've even done it. I mean, I've gone to Amazon and shop because you can't beat the price, you know, but unfortunately, small businesses are the foundation of everything else. That's what this country and everything is built on, is the foundation of the small businesses. And I think a lot of people have forgotten to see that.
Speaking about what this country is built on, what does the American dream mean to you?
Freedom to do what I feel like, what I choose, what I want to say, you know, to pick my battle of what I think I should be fighting for, not what someone else thinks I should fight for. Because my battle is not going to be the same thing as your battle. Am I going to support you? Absolutely, because that's what we need to do. We need to support each other. You know, you got my back, I got your back. We're going to go in on it together. But if we both have the same vision on like, hey, that's none of our business, we don't need to be in that, then we should have the right to say that. And I think sometimes people get forced into things that they shouldn't even have to be involved in. I see it on social media. I see it on the news. I see it as you're driving down the street. You'll see this every single day. I mean, we'll leave here, we'll see this, and we'll go back on this conversation and be like, oh my God, look, exactly what we just spoke about. So having the choice of doing as I please, for me, is a lot for this country. And I think little by little, if you really look at it, a lot of stuff has been taken away on. I mean, I just seen something, it was like yesterday, before yesterday, country singer sang a song, and they took his song out. You know, we don't want him on Spotify. We don't want him on this, da-da-da.
I think it was Jason Aldean.
Yeah.
He shot some music video that was like,
yeah,
basically anti-woke.
And
you know?
yeah, and so, you know, they chewed him up for that. But I thought freedom of speech is like the big thing. We're allowed to say what we please. We're allowed to sing what we want, and we can't. So that freedom is gone right there. You know, there's a lot of people that when COVID came, the vax and anti-vax, that was huge. You know, there were people I saw my own friends fighting other friends on this subject, hating each other. And I'm like, my guys, man, we were just hanging out a year ago when we were at a car show, and none of this crap mattered. So now you were put in the middle to having to choose, and you guys are fighting. You know, so the freedom of choice was no longer there at that point. And it wasn't good for anybody at that point.
I feel wholeheartedly that it's a strategic approach that they're taking, these pharmaceutical companies, the government.
Absolutely.
Who everybody thinks, you know, everybody sees like the president as like the head of the country, the head of like the government. Man, somebody's pulling his strings and somebody's pulling their strings. There's always a bigger brother in the picture. There's a bigger brother. But like, to me, that exact scenario, you know, friends that were friends fighting over this subject. Big Brother is getting exactly what he wants. He wants division, because you divide and then you conquer.
And that's been strategic in all war. It's divide and conquer. It's civil war. You put them against each other. Yep. They're going to kill each other off, and then you come and you pick the carcass, and you're done. And that's how it's been for centuries. None of this. Here's the thing about social media, and this is how I see it. And I say this at all my shows, and if you've been to my shows, for those who've been to my shows, they know this is one of the first things I see. People cannot survive without social media now. My days, because I'm a lot older than I seem, when it came to marketing and branding, I'd have to go out on the street, you know, have 10, 15,000 flyers, and I'm standing on a street corner, or I'm standing at a gas station, or, you know, back in the days it was Bradley's or JCPenney, whatever it was, and I'm handing out a flyer to every single person who comes out at the parking lot or at a concert, whatever it was. Now I just make a flyer and I post it on social media. If social media died today, there was no TikTok, no Twitter, no Threads, no Facebook, no Instagram, nothing. Everything went, nobody would see exactly what happens in this world. Everything would be normal because nobody would care because they're not seeing it. Everything is cared about because people see it. Oh, if I see it, I'm going to care about it, and I'm going to investigate, and I want to know more about it. If they don't know, they don't care, there's peace. Now social media has brought everything into it. I mean, they were fighting in Iraq. In Russia, and people had cell phones and they're recording because the missiles are coming, and war's been going on before our time. It's always been there. Just that social media has made it to where you can see what actually is going on and what people are living. So people now can actually talk about it live. Be like, oh my God, they just killed this person. I mean, they just live stream, the guy killing the girl in the car. He went on live stream, he's talking to her, pulled his gun out and just shot her right there. And Facebook shared all that stuff. We would have never known that. Nobody would have ever. We would have seen in the 9 o'clock news back in the days, like, oh, 9 o'clock, husband shoots wife. Yep. Done. Never see it again. Now you can actually reshare and get millions of views, and people get paid for that. Because this is where we're at, that you can get paid for the views. I mean, I'm hoping we get paid off of this.
That's right.
But we get paid off of this. But that's where social media has put the life perspective of what the world is, unfortunately, for everything, good or bad. And this is where we're at now.
You're absolutely right. It's almost like, I've always said, knowledge can be a dangerous thing.
Absolutely.
Because I can tell you right now, the moment that you give up being naive, whether it be in one subject matter or an array of subject matters, you give up the privilege to be at peace.
Absolutely.
The more you know, the more you realize that you don't know. So
it's funny you say that. 'Cause I was just told this last night. I have this thing, I try to not look at my cell phone after 9 o'clock. Because then I really don't sleep. Everybody gets out of work, 5, 6, 7, then they go home, and that's when they start posting the most stuff on social media. And that's when you see stuff that you are intrigued to continue to look into, and you will lose sleep. Yep. And sometimes it's stuff that really it shouldn't affect me. That's the word. It should not affect me at all, but it does. Because then I see, you might have commented on it, or Ethan might have commented on it, and now I'm like, okay, so if he cares, then I should care too, because those are my buddies. Really shouldn't give a shit about it. And it just continues to kind of trickle down. And the next thing you know, now it's 1 o'clock in the morning. I wake up to let the dog out, and now I want to go see that thread and see who else has commented on it. Put the phone down, I wake up, and now it's 6 o'clock in the morning, and I got to pick up the phone again. That's the first thing. This right here will kill everything. Everything that happens on social media will kill everything. And it affects everybody's life. And it's sad to say, but without this, at this point in era, we can't live without it.
Absolutely right.
I don't even use my computer. This is everything we need right now. Literally, I can go here. I can check my emails. I can check my messages. I can, literally everything. I don't even answer phone calls anymore or text messages. I don't. Unless I know you personally and it's important, I won't even answer. You can reach me another way. Like, I'm too busy for that because this is my computer. I get yelled at all the time because I'm driving and I have the phone like, okay, I got to check this message.
I'm the same way. I'm the same. I'm bad. Bad. I actually I ended up having to get one of those damn fidget spinners or whatever.
Just to control?
Dude, just to have something in my hand going.
Wow.
While I was driving. And I only use it when I have other people in the car. Yeah. Because I don't want to use my phone when I'm doing that. But like if I'm on my own, yeah. Phone's up, I'm working.
And you know why, right? Because we're afraid we're going to miss something.
Correct. We're going to miss something, or, for me, it's like, actually a recent change I've made is I just got this new desk set up, this new desktop, like whatever, and just started recently for the past probably like week and a half, 2 weeks. I leave my laptop here and I leave it hooked up to my desk setup as if it were a desktop. And because there were so many times where my phone would go off and I'd have an email from a client. And so I just, like my backpack's right here. I'm in my apartment. I'll pull out my laptop. I'll answer the email. Next thing I know, I come to and I'm 40 minutes on my laptop on my island in the kitchen instead of being at the office.
Yes.
Like I could have put it off for 30 seconds and I would have been in my work environment to execute.
And you couldn't. couldn't wait. Last night, a friend of mine hit me up, and we were talking about the categories for our upcoming event. And I'm like, man, did I actually make that category and send out to get a trophy done? This was probably like 8:40, maybe 9 o'clock. And I was already in bed, and I'm like, now I got to get up and I got to go check. So I get up, I go to the living room, I pull the laptop out, and now I'm there, and I'm like, oh, I'm like, oh, yeah, I did the categories. Well, while I'm here, let me go ahead and let me check for this one, too. So now another hour went by. I didn't even need to be there because at that point I was done. But now I'm on the TV and on the computer doing this. I just lost an hour of my time, of my sleep, of my rest, of my sanity, because I was so focused on something that really at that point was irrelevant. It could have waited until early this morning when I'm having my coffee or breakfast that I could have checked, but it took my time, and you lose time. And I always tell people time is money. And I have a good friend who tells me if I'm not making money, then I'm losing time, because time is money. And it's 100% correct. You know, even though we need the rest, these things here that we're doing now is very important, because it's always good to raise awareness of just everything that goes on outside of the industries that we work in. And it's good to raise the awareness so other people who are like-minded can watch this and say, holy shit, man, you know what? They are fucking right. And sorry that I'm swearing, but that's just me. You know, they're going to realize, like, man, that they're speaking the 100% the truth, that's exactly what it is. And I'm glad somebody else said it, because now I can sit back and be like, shit, I got to stop doing that so I can live a better life.
Absolutely right. So let's delve into Clean Exhibition.
Okay.
I'm sure the viewers are interested in knowing. I'm interested in knowing. This is our first time meeting. Tell me more about what it is that you got going on. Give me kind of a bird's eye view of the operation and break it down.
I'll try to break it from A to Z the simplest way possible. I've been in the automotive industry for a long time. I'm originally from up north, and up north we would do small car shows, meets, and things like that. It trickled down here, and I moved into Myrtle Beach, and I kind of stopped for a while. Got remarried, kids, life, the whole 9 yards. Eventually I started up again, and I started just doing the little local stuff. I do a car meet here, small car show there. We always did a Toys for Tots at the end of the year for the community. That trickled into where I had the opportunity to work for a bigger company at the time, about 5-6 years ago. And they gave me the opportunity to work for them. I've always been grateful of the opportunity of everything I learned from them. And when we broke ways, I kind of sat for a year and didn't do anything. It was just miserable, because I love the automotive industry. Doesn't matter what kind of it is. I'm always been intrigued by it. Christmas came around, and I always did Toys for Tots, and I wanted to go above and beyond for Toys for Tots this year. So I had the opportunity to rent out the old Inlet Square Mall down the street. And we did the Toys for Tots inside the mall. I had the cars inside the mall. Everything was parked. We had, people coming in and donating, walking around, seeing the cars, and it was great. It was a great feeling to be back to doing what I love. At that point, someone had made a comment of, can you do it at a bigger scale? And I'm like, you know what? I think I can, but if I don't try it, I wouldn't know, And I said, scared money don't make money. Literally. So either I'm going to risk the little bit that I have and try to make something, or I'm just going to go and fail the first time and then call it quits. No working capital. The Greenville Convention Center in South Carolina, I called them up. I said, hey, this is what I have planned. This was with 3 months planning. So this was November, December, January, and then February was the show. I said, hey, I want to host a show. I want to know if you have any availability for us to rent your facility, X, Y, Z. And they said, absolutely, it's going to cost you this much. We're going to need a deposit. So I went in there with zero capital. Literally, I scraped all the money that I could, and we gave it to them and said, fuck it, we're gonna do this show. And we made a very small little website where people can go in and register, and we sent them an invoice and they'd pay, and we got in vendors. Now, this was after COVID. So we were like one of the first shows after COVID to actually be allowed to do anything in the Carolinas. So everybody was hungry to come out their house and bring their cars out. So it was exciting. The first one we did in Greenville was amazing. I mean, the line was out the door. Everybody came. All my friends and vendors and people that I knew from the industry, they came out and supported. And we launched Clean Exhibition. And then I was like, man, I did it. This was great. And someone made a comment on social media that I ended up finding out about. I was like, oh, that was a one-hit wonder. And that just, man, it ate me up, because in my eyes, I'm like, nah, I'm not a one-hit wonder. I can do this. I can be, even though I'm the last man on the totem pole, I'm still the smallest company in the industry because I'm new. Everybody's been out here 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 plus years doing this. I am the newbie. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to shoot my shot. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to do it. So took the working capital off of that event, put it back into the event, because that's what a successful business does. You don't keep the money. You make it work for you, and you put it into something else. So we paid off some debt, took that money, and I messaged the Savannah Convention Center. And I said, hey, Savannah, I'd like to come out, do an event over there. You know, what do you guys think? And they're like, well, we're under construction. If you can deal with the construction, we'd love to have you. Boom. So this was now the end of February. So March, April, May, June. I've got 4 months to prep for that one. Same thing. Everybody came out, you know, had a good time. And then I'm like, well, shit, might as well keep it going. Reached out to the Myrtle Beach. Myrtle Beach said yes. Reached out to Greenville. And then we're just now going on to year 3 doing this. And this is not hard. I lose sleep. I've made friends, and I've probably made a bunch of enemies, because everybody sees you as competition, and competition is healthy. Don't get me wrong. And people need to understand that competition is healthy, and it's good for the growth of the industry. But you also have to support the people and acknowledge who's putting in the work. So we decided to go with it. And, you know, now we're going on the 3rd year with the shows. We're still growing. Every show we learn something new. We try to change what we saw wrong at the previous show. If it was something that, you know, the judges did a bad call, or we missed a category, or we oversaw one thing, or, you know, the prep wasn't good enough, we go back and we'll sit down. I'll jot everything down. And then, you know, the day of the show, I'll sit down with my staff and say, hey, you know, we messed up on this one. We need to make sure that this is taken care of, and these people are, you know, and we keep going. And now we're going into 2024 would be year 4 for us. So still growing. You know, we expanded. We opened up Clean Garage. Clean Garage, this is funny. We ended up needing to have a space just to store all our stuff. I own a LED video wall, which is 12 by 10 or 12 by 12. This thing is massive. It comes into big, massive cases, and this thing was sitting in my living room for a long time. And every time we get home from a show, I have to unpack and put everything in my living room. Talking the LED board, you know, tables, chair, the whole nine was in my living room and in my shed. And it got to a point where I'm like, I need to find a shop where I can store this. And we were blessed with a friend of ours had a vacant shop across the street from the house. Literally, I live here, and the shop's across the street. And he's like, if you want it, it's yours. You know, here's the monthly. Just go ahead and clean it up. So then we get in the shop, and then, you know, we started storing stuff. And I'm like, well, I need to put the shop to use. Paying this rent, and there's no money or revenue coming out of it except storage. Well, let's make it work. So now we opened it up as what I call the Clean Garage. We're like an automotive concierge service. So a lot of the guys that we know come to us for advice for their build. Like, hey, what do you think of this? Or who should I go to use this? So since we work with so many other brands and businesses as far as builds, I said, well, I can just outsource and help these people build. Like, you know, good friends of ours, shout out to Carolina Stand Shop. They're up in Greenville. They do anything with wheels, suspension, you know, the camber, all that funky stuff that everybody likes in the cars. You know, people ask me, and that's who I refer them to. And we have Kang, who's local. He does all the lifts and suspension as well. He does wheels and tires. So if somebody comes in and says, hey, I need this stuff done, they're local, I'm going to send them over there. So almost like an outsource company. We're working with Luminous Tint now. We do carry the colored film that is for car shows, and it's illegal to drive on the road, right? Okay, just making sure people know. So we're becoming an outsourced automotive company since we work with so many sponsors and brands. Shout out to Modfine. Modfine is our automotive sponsor for our tour for 2023 and 2022, and everybody hates marketplace because you list something and you try to sell it. You get,
is it still available? Is this still available?
So Modfine has kind of changed your perspective on what you sell. And you can go ahead and you can list your parts, and you can sell them. If your buddy refers it and you sell it, they can earn a kickback. They can win money on your sale. So it's a great brand as well, and we're thankful that we've been a part of them and their growth and our growth together. and we're hoping they'll come back on 2024. And again, it's like I said, I am the last man on the totem pole still. I want to be the top totem. I want to be the one that oversees everything at one point. I want to be the guy that, I don't want to do this forever. It's just tiring. You know, I want to just nitpick at all the money from different areas and get rich that way. Not even rich. I want to be comfortable. Rich and comfortable are two different things. $1 million now is not what $1 million used to be 10 years ago. $1 million now, you know, for everybody who thinks, oh yeah, I made $1 million, man. $1 million ain't shit. I blew that shit away already. Just paying out on venues and all kinds of different things that we need to run our event. People think that these events are, you're running the convention center, oh yeah, it's $5,000. Oh, hell no. He knows. 15, 25 before I even get in through the door. You do that 6 times a year, you're over $100,000. Then you got, you know, staffing, staging, lighting, permits, bills, city, fire marshal. Oh my God. Before my event even makes a profit, I've already spent $30,000 or $40,000. So am I doing this for money? Absolutely not. I'm doing this for them. I'm doing this for the industry because I love it. I love this. As much as I hate it, I love this. I love seeing the smile of someone who hasn't seen their friend because this guy lives in Miami, this guy lives in Boston, and they met in the middle at my event, and they're living it up together for that 30, 40 minutes that they were. That is what makes all this of value to me. Other than that, you know, as long as I have money to eat a good piece of steak at the end of the day, man, I'm good to go. I'm good to go. You know, that's it. That's really what it comes down to. Back in the days, we used to do a Spanish, this was 2009 when I lived up north. I worked for a Spanish radio station, Latin radio station. And we had a show every Saturday night, and it was all based on reggaeton and Latin music and pop and things like that. We'd be there 4 or 5 hours, just same thing. That's originally what a podcast was.
Right. Still
Still is. Just that, you know, unfortunately, radio stations are dead. Because now we go on our phone, go back to the phone, and we get everything we want right here. Back in the days, if we wanted to listen to a song, you had to request it on the radio station or wait until it came out and you recorded it on a cassette, and then you can replay it and listen to it.
You know, it's funny you mentioned that, man, because I'm going on for the digital marketing agency side of things. I'm going on like 4.5 years now. Started it while I was still in college. I just remember like those first, honestly, probably the first 3.5, 4 years, wasting 80 to 90% of my time on the phone or sitting down in a meeting with a potential prospect, potential new client. I was desperate at the time. You know, I needed money. I needed clients. I needed experience. I needed all the things.
Needed the exposure.
I just remember 80 to 90% of my conversations were spent convincing people that social media was worth pursuing.
Absolutely.
The entire paradigm shifted, and my entire business shifted the moment that I stopped trying to convince people. I'm no longer in this game to try and convince people. I'm here to talk with, and I'm sure Ethan can resonate with this too, you know, like I don't want to do video content or manage social media accounts for somebody that is like, I don't really believe in like this shit.
I got to go for you. I don't see the value in what you do.
Yeah, bingo.
Huh?
Because if they don't,
Ethan knows about that, right? Ethan?
They'll never understand.
They'll never understand.
And I'm not in the game. That's when shit changed for me on the business side and success wise, is the moment I realized like, I'm not in the business of convincing. I'm in the business of doing what I do better than anyone else. So you want to have a brand on social media, you want to reach the most people, you come to me.
Absolutely.
Managing those accounts. You want the best video that I've personally ever seen, you go to Ethan, you go to Feltz Films. Like you find these people, and oh dude, it changed the game for me, because now I'm having 2 or 3 conversations with killers as opposed to 30 conversations with
bait.
That's a good analogy. I like that.
Because it is bait. I've seen it. I've gone through it. It's the same scenario when you're reaching out to a sponsor. You know, you're out there, why do they see the value in what you do? Or what are you going to give me? What's the purpose? And you're trying to bait them. And again, same thing. You wasted, 60 hours baiting one customer, but then you've got 4 that are like, they don't care. They're just going to go in on.
Right,
And those are the 4 that you want to put your most work into because they see the value in what you do. And unfortunately, we are in an era that a lot of people who are old school business minded still don't see the value of what we do as being influencers, social media marketers, brander. They don't see that value. They're still stuck in the way of that, Yelp, because that's how old that shit is. I even forgot what the hell it was. Yelp, Google Analytics, and all that stuff. They still think that that's going to work for you. Nah. Yep. If you're not on social media right now, if you're not putting out 2 to 3 reels a day, if you're not putting out good content and material content, no one's going to give a crap about you. You know why? Because they're going to do exactly what you and me do. We're going to go like this, and we're like, oh, that's just garbage, and we're going to thumb right through that shit and keep going on to the next. Because I do it, and you do it, because it has to be of value to us and to anyone for them to see the purpose of investing in what we do. And that's the sad part about it, because there are hundreds of people trying to do what we do, and it is a cutthroat industry.
I think every business needs to look at themselves, needs to really have an introspective into their business model and figure out how they can make their business a media company.
Absolutely.
That's what you need to be building brand, because that's the only way. That's the only way you're just going to dominate. And I have a saying that I say to people is like, when you're getting into the game of building an organic social media presence, building a brand, it's a long game.
Absolutely.
It's a long game, and you're going to see nothing for a long time until you hit that breaking point, that exponential growth factor. And once that kicks in, I say this every single time, if you've got competitors out there who aren't accepting this, you're wondering if you should do it because nobody else is doing it. Let me tell you this. By the time they know who you are,
it'll be too late.
It'll be too late.
We made a video, me and Ethan made a video, maybe it was like last week, the week before, we were talking about the vendors at our shows when they're sitting down, and it was brand recognition. I notice this all the time because I've done it, and a lot of people notice, and if you go to a store, you'll see it. You walk into the store and the sales rep is just on their phone or they're not paying attention. 9 times out of 10, you're going to walk out and you're going to walk into another store. And they are losing the focus on what customer service is. And what we do is customer service. So we are putting out the content for customers to see so they can shop for us. And you're right. The ROI on this is pennies on a dollar, because it's going to take forever until people realize how good this investment is for them to come back and evaluate, like, if they're going to invest in it. And sometimes it's not about the money. I've gone to places as a vendor, and I made $1 on anything, but I got my brand out there. And brand recognition is everything right now. Everything. That's why you brand your vehicle. That's why you brand your shirts. That's why you brand your clothing. That's everything. Brand recognition is everything. The money comes in later on. Because even businesses that are established, and I've seen it 12, 15, 20 years, have failed because they stopped doing brand recognition and they started chasing. They forgot the customers. They forgot customers. They forgot customer service. They forgot brand recognition. They started chasing the bag. And here comes the little business who's aware of what we do and says, you know what, I'm going to capitalize on this. So now everybody who's visual, who watches the phone, who watches Instagram, Facebook, says, man, that shop has it going. I'm going to go fuck with them. You lost the customer to the new guy because you stopped doing what you were supposed to be doing, your brand recognition, and realizing that, unfortunately, we are in a new era, and this is like the chameleon. We have to adapt. Next week, guess what? We might have another conversation, and you and me might have to adapt on something new to push our brands further out there, because the game is evolving and changing literally as we speak. And people are not realizing that with a blink of an eye, we will be in another area, in another form of social media, of how we have to market ourselves, of how we have to brand ourselves. And people will forget that. And we're going to have to go back and be like, okay, let's revisit this conversation and talk about how branding is so important for everybody.
I love how fast paced, because you have to be faster and faster as these technological advances kick in. You've got AI now, you've got all these different things. And really the game, it all comes down to speed.
Yeah.
Who's moving the quickest, who's making decisions the fastest, because
putting out the content that fast.
Bingo.
That's key. I don't know if you follow Dustin Williams. He's a YouTuber, automotive YouTuber. Dustin Williams, TJ Hunt. These guys start off in a backyard garage, and they caught the era when it just started on how to brand themselves. And these guys they set the tone. Now Ethan has seen them. These guys are just. By the time we're done with a video, they've got 5.
In your face, 24/7.
Boom.
Yeah. I gotta know. What does your media team look like? Because hearing these things from you sound like you're aggressive on this front.
Oh my God. And it's funny. I have the smallest media team. My main guys is Ethan, Feltz Films, Zach with Dreamscope, and Eric with 904 down in Jacksonville. That is basically my media team. Those are my 4 these are my internal guys. Because we have a lot of guys who come to our shows that for the day, they will be part of our media for the day. These guys that I mentioned, this is my internal media team. Eric down in Jacksonville, if you guys want to follow him, it's 904 Local on Instagram. This guy's amazing. He does reels on the spot, on the go. Before the show even opens, he has 10 reels uploaded and on our Instagram. Like, that's how good he is. He's like, I got a reel for you. Here's a go. Hey, do you want to film this reel? Feltz Films on Instagram, right? And Dreamscope Film is Zach, if you guys want to follow them as well. These guys are fantastic. They are my backdoor guys. They're going to cover the show, the vendors, the people walking in, the interaction, the entertainment. And then it's like a good pie. You can take all the ingredients and you push them together and they make a really good pie. And that's my internal media team. But they're at that level where I don't even need to say anything to them anymore. Yep. They'll ask me, hey, what do you want? Just do you. Because they know already exactly what my vision is for the event and for the content that I want to create. When Ethan came on board, again, because he was local, it just made sense. We wanted to do what we call the garage mindset, which is basically what we're doing now and just talking about positivity, negativity, stuff in the industry, XYZ. And he hit me up yesterday. He goes, I got an idea. And I'm like, oh, shit, let's go. And that's what I want. If you're a part of my team, and it's not even a team, I'm not even going to call that. You're part of my family because we break bread. If we stay in the same house and we eat off the same plate and we have fun and we hang out and we have drinks, you're my family. We're not a team anymore. You're not my employee. I'm not your boss. That doesn't work like that. Boss is somebody who wants to take over. I want to lead, and I want you to be my leader as well. I want to work together, and we want to break bread together. Because at the end of the day, my goal is just like his goal. We want to live comfortable, And I can't put myself as saying, "Oh yeah, well Sam's the boss." Yeah, maybe, but I don't want to consider myself that. I want all of us to be together and share together. So any idea that they have, we're gonna look at it, and if it works, we're gonna do it because it makes sense. If I know it's gonna better my company, then absolutely we're gonna do it. Why wouldn't I? These guys know what I don't know. Now they've got me to the point where I know they're so busy. I've been self-teaching myself on Adobe so I can reuse content.
Right.
So I can continue when they're busy and not available, that I can go on there and I can be like, all right, I can make a reel today and I can post it and keep my social media going.
There's one really critical factor in your decision-making process with building out that family, if you will, that I'm noticing right now. And that's that you see a lot of guys that get in your position and they want to build out this media machine, this monster. They want to 10X the business. Mm-hmm. They go to the marketplace and they find guys like Ethan. They find guys that are extremely talented at what they do. They create video like no one else. And they start working with them on a retainer basis, whatever it may be. Obviously, they have some kind of agency, whatever. And then they make most businesses that I've come in contact with, they make one very critical error. They look at, the creatives in general.
Of course.
Creatives are known for being a little bit more wishy-washy, a little more pushovers, like they're more creative-minded. They're not as logistical, business-minded sometimes. Mm-hmm. And that's what makes them then. That's where a lot of their strengths and weaknesses kind of coincide. But what a lot of business owners will try and do is they'll bring somebody in that has that level of talent. And they start pushing the limit. They push the limit, and then the conversation almost always comes, hey, here's the ultimatum. Like, you're coming aboard our team as like a salaried employee. And that's the biggest goddamn fucking mistake that I see motherfuckers making right now. Because, and this shit fires me up too, because all you're doing is incentivizing them to be, there's a reason you found their content. There's a reason that you were drawn to what they're capable of.
They needed you.
It's because these guys have incentive to get better. The second you have them on an hourly wage or a salary, there is no incentive to get better. And you make them hate their craft. To me, it's just to everyone's detriment, trying to grab one of these, and I'm talking about the top 5%, top 10% of creatives, to try and pull them into your business. And I talk to Ethan all the time. I talk to any creative that I work with or that I know, is like, hold your ground.
Absolutely.
If somebody offers you even an amount of money that's like, damn, like I could really use that, like, give me a call and we'll talk through it. I'm always that guy. Like, give me a call and we'll talk through it.
I have another person who works on some of our media, but he's not my internal team, but he is part of my team. His name is Hong. It's Midnight Rush on social media. And he was working for another company a couple of years ago, and same situation. He got tied in. He got strapped. He couldn't work for anybody else. That was his job. And he started, and this guy is fabulous. He's done a lot of reels for me. He's the guy that when I need a dope promo put out, like yesterday, I message him and says, hey, can you put me out? This event's coming out this day. Do I need a 90-second? I got you, Sam. And he'll bang it out. But he got strapped in. Same thing. And his creative mind shut down. Yep. Because at that point, he wasn't doing it for the love of what he liked doing. He was doing it because he was forced at that point. He's like, all right, I need 20 reels and I need them done by Thursday. And you're like, holy fuck. Like, I don't want to do this no more. But that's with any job.
It's as soon as you add those confines. If a smart business owner like yourself, and I can already tell, like, this is probably where you're headed with these guys as you continue to grow, is like, everybody says to themselves, like, all right, I'm paying this videographer, let's just say I'm paying him $2,000 a month to do short form video content, some YouTube videos for me. Well, shit, I can put him on a $35,000 a year salary, squeeze him for everything he's worth out of 40-hour work weeks, call it good, suffocate his creativity, kick him to the curb in 3 years because he doesn't want to do it anymore. Or how about this? This is what I pose as the alternative. How about, instead of having the conversation about 10xing your business on the backs of these creatives, how about 100xing your business and feeding the family? Like you said, breaking bread with them. Double the retainer.
So
fuck the salaries.
And here's the thing. A lot of companies want to be greedy and not share. So the other day I seen Street Truck Magazine. The editor is on my friends list. I actually ended up getting to meet him a couple of years ago at an event, and they were looking for somebody to do video content. I tagged him. I tagged Ethan. I tagged my friend Evan Trudell, who's in North Carolina, who also does great content. I tagged Zach from Dreamscope and Eric from 904. I tagged all of them. I cannot be selfish and hold them to their full potential. That would be wrong as a good businessman and as a personal friend, because their growth is my growth. And a perfect example is Zach from Dreamscope. Zach started off with probably a little camera like we have here, and he was out back 5-7 years ago doing little videos and reels, and then he just accomplished his biggest dream, was to buy a Red. And for people who know social media and content, a Red, the body alone is like 12 to 15, sometimes even 20 grand. That was his accomplishment of saying, hey, I'm to that level where I can produce the content where I need this Red. So now his value went up. Him working with us, our value went up. Same thing with Ethan. He's going to be at that level, and I've told him this, where he's going to have to either get someone to help him, and he's going to level up on his equipment. His level up means my content just leveled up. So now I'm here because of him. So I can't strap him down, because if I strap him down, then he's going to get tired and the content's going to drop here. he's not going to want to do this anymore. He's going to hit me up and he's going to say, well, Sam, I'm burnt out. He knows now. He's messaged me, and there's days I don't want to do this all the time. He's got more energy. He's younger than I am, and he's ready to do 10 of these a day if he could. I don't want to burn him out. Just like, Zach. I talked to Zach yesterday, and I told him, hey, buddy, I didn't want to bother you because I know he's that busy. He films for so many people, celebrities, and big rally runs and all kinds of stuff. And I'm like, buddy, I didn't want to bother you, but I can't do this part. And I know Ethan is busy as well. Do you have the time to make me these 3 15-second reels? He's like, bro, all you have to do is ask. That doesn't hurt by asking. So, he actually just dropped one in my Dropbox this morning. But I don't want to burn him out because he's got other work that's bigger than what I am. And they have priority over me. And I understand that, just like it's going to get to the point where I know he has work that's priority over me. And I need to understand that as a human being, as his friend, and as somebody who wants to see him grow. I want to see him film something so crazy where it came out on the TV, on the news, and I'm like, yeah, that was my boy, man. He does stuff for me. Yeah. Because that's bragging. If you can sit here and you can brag to your buddy and say, yeah, that's my guy who filmed that, and he films for me too, they're going to look and say, okay, so you're big too. That's where it comes down to.
I like that mentality, man. You seem to me to have a good head on your shoulders.
Thank you.
I really like what I'm hearing. It sounds like you're
leading
this. Your level of success, the level of success that I believe any man is going to reach is up to the level of the man that he's built to handle that success.
Absolutely.
You're a family man. You said you got a wife, kids.
Yep, kids, dogs.
It's you, man. No wonder you're tired. It's not the business wearing you out.
It's everything. And then I'll leave from here and go straight to the shop and work. And it'll be like that. And there's sometimes it's 1 o'clock in the morning and we're working on promos or, looking at what cars registered for the event or thinking of the next, Pinky and Brain back in the days, cartoons. What are you thinking of how to take over the world? Well, that's sometimes my mentality is how to take over the world. And it's not as in, again, I am not trying to be a millionaire. Don't get me wrong. Everybody wants to be a millionaire. More money, more problems though. I want to be comfortable. Like I said, if I want to wake up in the morning and I say, you know what, at noontime, I want to go and I want to sit down and I want to have a $200 piece of steak and not even blink of an eye and I can have a $200 piece of steak. That's what I want to do. That's it. I don't need to be flashy. I don't want to be flashy. Flashy causes attention. Yep. I want to live comfortable. I want to make sure that my kids' school is paid for. My daughter goes to private school. So this is why I do it, to make sure that she's in that private school and her education is key. Because nowadays you need education. For anything we do. So make sure her education is paid for. My 4-year-old is going to start school soon, so I need to make sure that her education is taken care of, make sure that the fridge is full, and, make sure everything else is good. And after that, it really doesn't matter. Like I said, I've been telling him I want to buy a new car. I've been wanting to buy a new car for the last 4 years. Can I? Absolutely. Am I? Nah, probably not. I also drive my Kia Soul and my minivan. I don't see the incentive to myself at this point to making that expense that the only thing it's going to do is bring me temporary gratification. Oh, yeah, I bought a new car, so for the first 3 days, I'm going to be excited. I'm going to drive the shit out that motherfucker. And then I'm going to park it and realize that I still have to run my business and that my business and my family take priority over that car. And then it's just going to sit there and rot away. So now I have a car note on something I'm not enjoying. 6 months from now, that car is going to be a burden. Because now I'm paying $800 to $1,000 on a nice car that I could have took that $800 to $1,000 and put it into my business, which is going to make me business. That's the difference of how I think things should be. And that's just my personal opinion. Anybody else, you can do whatever hell you want. That's the way you think. But for me, that's where I'm at.
So I've got a final question for you.
Okay.
What does honor mean to you?
With honor comes loyalty. So we're going to add loyalty in with the honor. Self-care is part of honor. You have to be in a good standard mentally to be honoring anybody or anything you do. Proud. Got to be proud of what you do. Love. You got to love what you do, and you got to love who you work with and the environment you're in. honor can have so many definitions of how you see it. So if I have to muster everything up and be honorable and proud and trustworthy, loyal, loving, caring, everything would fall into that, because it all falls into the same characteristic traits to be able to be honorable and to have honor. And if you don't have that, if you don't honor your peer, if you don't honor, your employee, if you're working for somebody, if you don't honor the industry you work for or the people you work with, then there is no value. You have no love. You have no trust. You have no loyalty. At that point, it's not worth it. It's not worth anything you're doing.
Amen, brother. So where can people find you at?
Very easy. Just Clean Exhibition with a K, Clean with a K. And we're on, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and YouTube, just like that, Clean Exhibition. We're going up to Virginia next week on the 29th. So I want to see you guys there. And we're going to put on a banger show, have some fun. We got a lot of nice cars going up there. A lot of people from Myrtle Beach are driving up to Virginia. And I'm super excited because that makes me happy to see my locals supporting a local brand and a local business, going up, supporting what I do. And that makes me happy. So shout out to you guys from the beach who are going up there, man. That really helps me out a lot. There's a couple businesses, Can Automotive and Royal Wraps. They're two local businesses. They're going up there as vendors to, again, branding, spread their wings and touch other territories to gain customers. Because it doesn't matter where you're at. You can gain a customer from Virginia and bring them down here, and that's what we do. So shout out to them. We're looking forward to having you guys next week, man, and I'm excited to see everybody up there.
I appreciate you coming on, man.
No, I appreciate you having me. Thank you so much, and I look forward to doing it again.
All right, man.
Thank you.